A nurse in Queens who makes $75,000 a year pays more than $12,000 a year in taxes. Does that really make sense? So people talk about, making the tax system more progressive. How about we start by having the nurse in Queens not pay taxes? Why is somebody at all? You could double the taxes I pay, and it's not going to help that teacher in Queens. I promise you.
Yeah, don't be fooled by that douchebag pretending like he's totally cool with paying more in taxes so a nurse in Queens doesn't have to pay anything in taxes. This guy's been getting away with murder for quite some time. He loves it. In fact, he ensures that our political system allows for him to get away with paying nothing in taxes, which I'm gonna show you in just a minute. But Cenk, Jeff Bezos was on CNBC sharing his thoughts on populism.
Yeah, so I'm gonna explain why he went with that particular lie in a little bit. And you're gonna see, who do you think is the one Democrat fighting back against him? I'll let you take a minute with it. All right, Anna.
So why don't we hear him out, okay? I know I don't mean to prime you guys to reject him outright. So you should hear him out. Let's start with Jeff Bezos complaining about politicians going after rich people.
What's happening here is politicians are using the kind of age-old technique. So there's this tale of two economies, and they're using this age-old technique of picking a villain and pointing fingers. But the problem is that doesn't solve anything. And so, like, if you want to help the group of people who are struggling, you have to figure out real root causes and solutions, and that takes skill. Policy debates don't have to be finger pointing. This is the piece that,
so you're not going to sell your place in New York.
Unfortunately, it is an effective political technique. It's as old as the hills.
Right.
So when you don't know how to solve a problem, create a villain, blame them. But it won't solve the problem. The only thing that will solve the problem is skill.
Right.
And so really it's a skills issue.
So the guy who had rules and quotas that were so extreme for Amazon delivery drivers that they would literally urinate in plastic bottles and throw them out onto the streets because they had no choice. They had to go, you have a quota, you gotta deliver the package, today, one day. That guy has the solutions for how to deal with the tale of two economies, the tale of two economies. How did the two economies come about? Was it because of billionaire campaign donors like you who ensures that deregulation continues to happen, that workers continue to get abused with impunity? Is that why? Is that why we have that tale of two economies? I love that he called it a tale. It's not a tale, it's reality.
Yeah, so two quick things here. One is, root causes, you want to address them? Great, help us get money out of politics.
Totally.
Because that's the #1 root cause. Because every industry and lobby buys the politicians. Mo Brooks explained this, he's a former representative from Alabama, said in order to be a committee chair, you have to get $1 million. Where are you gonna get the $1 million? From the industry you're regulating, so you don't regulate them. And then you disperse it to the other greasy politicians, and then they all back that particular industry. So they're supporting their donors over their voters, and that's why we're getting screwed and we have this wealth inequality. And who loves that? Jeff Bezos absolutely loves it. Every billionaire loves it because it allows them to buy the entire Congress. And so
Cenk, shockingly, he actually weighed in on this during the interview, okay? I don't trust this guy at all. I think that he is the root cause of the problem. So I'm gonna skip ahead and go to D4 because here he allegedly states that corporations have too much influence on American politicians.
Hilarious. Okay, I can't wait to put him to the test. Let's watch.
The other piece of the argument is that the wealthy have extraordinary influence over government policy and have too much influence over government policy. By the way, over tax policy, over housing, over all of it.
But what I would say is that we have way too much corporate welfare, way too much corporate subsidies. We have, there's way too much influence in politics. politics from business, in some cases, wealthy people who really focus on that, unions. There's a bunch of people interfering in the political process. And if we can make that better, we should do that too. It doesn't make any sense for the government to subsidize, certain agricultural crops, certain, real estate transactions, Hollywood films. The tax code is 10,000 plus pages long because it has built-in corporate loopholes for various things. This is crony capitalism, and of course it should be fixed.
Okay, so who are you going to bribe in Congress to fix it? No, but I'm serious, right? I love that he's working on positive PR for himself. I don't believe him for a second. You're the guy who was the founder, the head, the CEO for a very long time of the very company that abused its workers, that had factory workers, or I should say, those working in the warehouses, packing the packages and for getting them ready for delivery. How many stories have we shared with our audience of workers who were so overworked that they literally collapsed on the floor? Some people died in those warehouses. And you want to know what the rest of the workers were told to do? Just ignore it. Keep working. Keep working.
Yeah. So look, if you're really against corporate welfare, which is kind of a funny thing, because didn't you take advantage of those loopholes so that Amazon 1 year paid zero in taxes?
Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay, so that's weird because you're it's one of the wealthiest companies in the history of the world, but yet all of a sudden you're taking advantage of those loopholes that now you're pretending on air for propaganda purposes to be against. But good news, I could just put you to the test and you could prove me wrong. So Wolfpack is to get money out of politics, wants to bring both sides together, and all the things you're talking about, crony capitalism, corporate welfare, rich people taking advantage of the system. So fightcorruption.us, I'm waiting for the $20 million check, which is nothing to you. It's not, you won't even notice it at all that it's got. But you know what, any sign, 2 million, 1 million, anything where you give to a real organization, not garbage. Oh, take money out of politics, but don't. Okay, there's a couple of those in Washington.
100%.
Right, give to Wolfpack. That's a real populist organization. Fightcorruption.us. Do you know your brain rot index? No, of course you don't. I didn't either because I didn't know what it was, but turns out you might want to, especially after hearing this. Did you know that the average American checks their phone over 200 times a day? That's about 5 hours of screen time a day on just your phone. Unfortunately, that means your brain is rotting. A little bit, but have no fear. I switched over to Noble Mobile, downloaded their Noble Mobile Life app, and was able to track my own brain rot index. It's 0. No, I'm just kidding. My number was not great, but now that I'm on Noble Mobile, getting way better. It tracks how much you use your phone, how often you pick it up, and even shows you how to save money on your phone bill by using it less. New members can even earn up to $100 cash back for keeping their brain rot index under 100, which means you are very unrot. Okay, so you unlock all that when you join. So download the Noble Mobile Life app today, track your own brain rot index, and learn how you can save money and spend more time doing things that actually bring you joy instead of doom scrolling on social media. Check it out by heading to tyt.com/switch or by downloading the Noble Mobile app. By the way, don't tell Andrew, but if you're on Wi-Fi, you also don't use your data, so you're gonna get money back anyway. tyt.com/switch. And then we'll say, oh, okay, well, maybe Bezos meant it. He just gave $20 million to get money out of politics. And believe me, with 20 million, we could probably just do it on that alone.
And look, guys, he's saying the right things in that video we just showed you. But a lot of these people lie and they do it intentionally. You should look at their actions. Their actions matter more than what they say in an effort to get some positive press on CNBC. So let's look at Bezos's net worth and how he pays nothing in taxes. So Forbes actually lists Bezos' net worth. So if you're curious how much he has in wealth, it is not much, only $274 billion. Okay, so in 2007, Bezos, who filed his taxes jointly with his then wife, Mackenzie Scott, who appears to be a genuinely wonderful woman. She's been giving that money away, by the way, to all sorts of charities.
By the way, if you don't know how to give money to the causes you say you believe in on television, just call your ex-wife. She knows how to do it.
She sure does. She sure does. So Mackenzie Scott reported a paltry, for him, $46 million in income. largely from interest and dividend payments on outside investments. He was able to offset every penny he earned with losses from side investments and various deductions like interest expenses on debts and the vague catch-all category of other expenses. I see that a lot when I'm looking at financial disclosures. It's interesting. In 2011, a year in which his wealth held roughly steady at $18 billion, Bezos filed a tax return reporting he lost money.
Come on.
His income that year was more than offset by investment losses. What's more, because according to the tax law, he made so little, he even claimed and received a $4,000 tax credit for his children.
No, that's unacceptable, man. That's rubbing it in our face.
Yeah.
That's spitting in our face.
I'm not done yet.
Go ahead.
Bezos' tax avoidance is even more striking if you examine 2006 to 2018, a period for which ProPublica has complete data. Bezos' wealth increased by $127 billion with a B, according to Forbes. But he reported a total of $6.5 billion in income. Interesting. If I were to do something like that, I would be audited and I'd be in a lot of trouble. The $1.4 billion he paid in personal federal taxes is a massive number, yet it amounts to a 1.1% true tax rate on the rise in his fortune.
But I'm sure the CNBC threw those facts right in his face and said, well, it sounds like you're a giant liar because you've been doing the exact opposite of what you just said.
Look, Andrew Ross Sorkin did not do that.
Really?
I don't know why, but I have a little bit of a soft spot for him, but you did bad there. You did bad.
They have to go
better.
soft. No, but you need access. You need access so that he can come on and do propaganda for billionaires.
So let's get to the individual who's not buying it other than us. And that would be Democratic Congressman Ro Khanna, who says maybe next time try a different talking point. Bernie Sanders and my billionaire tax would set up a $60,000 minimum starting salary for all public school teachers. Now he mentions his billionaire tax, and that's been kind of controversial because the billionaire tax that he supports out of California would only impact the state of California. People pay a lot in taxes in California and a lot of our money gets wasted. So the argument is, if you want to do something about waste, then yeah, we can have a conversation about increasing taxes. But generally speaking, taxing billionaires more, I think, makes more sense when you especially, do a little bit of a deep dive and notice that percentage-wise, in terms of percentage of their income and their wealth, they pay a lot less. Sometimes they pay nothing to federal taxes compared to ordinary, workers who get paid a salary or a wage. And so the bill, by the way, would use revenue from the wealth tax to provide a $3,000 direct payment to every man, woman, and child in a household making $150,000 or less, $12,000 for a family of 4. Reverse the $1.1 trillion in Medicaid and Affordable Care Act cuts in Trump's so-called big beautiful bill, which are estimated to cause more than 50,000 unnecessary deaths. By the way, what Ro Khanna is talking about here is a billionaire tax that would impact, people on a federal level. This isn't the California billionaire tax. And this one, I think, makes sense. Expand Medicare to cover dental, vision, and hearing for millions of seniors. Build, rehabilitate, and preserve over 7 million affordable homes to eliminate the affordable housing gap and end homelessness. Ensure no family pays more than 7% of their income on childcare. Establish a $60,000 minimum annual salary for every public school teacher in America. And expand Medicaid home health care for seniors and people with disabilities, which, by the way, would have been incredibly helpful for me and my family as my mom was recovering from cancer at home. So yeah.
So unless someone like Ro Khanna becomes president, that bill has no chance of passing. And then you go to wait. A lot of times people in media will acknowledge that it has no chance of passing, but they won't tell you why. The reason why is because all of the Republicans and a majority of the Democrats take money from people like Jeff Bezos. So they vote against bills like that, even though it would help the average American. In fact, because it helps the average American instead of their donors. And the donors view every dollar that goes to you as a dollar that should have gone to them instead, right? And they view it as a zero-sum game. So that's why a lot of times, like perfect example is paid family leave. It's 84% popularity, give moms 12 weeks off after they have a baby. Come on, literally almost every nation on earth, there's like 3 island nations that don't have it, and America, the richest nation on earth. Now that one's a layup, right? Everybody wants it and it doesn't cost them that much. No, corporations are like, you're to vote against it. And Democrats, you're going to pretend to be in favor of it, but never introduce it by itself, okay?
Can I ask you something, Cenk? Because this is something that I'm super curious about. You are the CEO of this company. The company offers generous maternity or family leave when a baby is coming. Is that breaking the bank? Is this company gonna go under because you offer family leave?
So that is definitely not the issue. We do have issues, okay? And it's mainly because supporters of Israel have turned off every single tap, right?
Yep, they sure have, yeah.
Okay, but no, that's not an issue. We've had that all throughout, including great years that we've had here. And so guys, but what it does do, it's a great question, Mariana, is it punishes good guy companies because we give it anyway, right? But the companies that are the worst actors go, oh, okay, great. Now I have an advantage over the Young Turks and any other decent company because I won't give it. Or what a lot of companies do is they give it to their executives, but to no one else.
Gross. That's so gross.
That's actually the most common. Okay, so I've seen, look, I'm a CEO, and it's kind of funny, right? That because we do such a populist show that they all view as radical and stuff. But I interact with a lot of the business community, and a lot of them are good guys. I'll come back to that in a second. But tons of them think totally binary. If you're an executive, they're like, well, I mean, he's got to get this, and he's got to get his kids in the private school, and you have to pay for this and this and this, and they have enormous sympathy and empathy for the executives. But the minute you get to non-executives, they're like, no. In fact, sympathy they view as kind of a negative against the CEO because then you can't make ruthless decisions, and that's a weakness, so you're gonna get marked down for that one. So now look, I'm not in the eat the rich category. I'm not in the saying there should be no billionaires, but at the same time, you can't then turn around and say, I have $276 billion, but oh my God, our wealth tax is so terrible. Oh, but I am against wealth inequality.
Right, exactly.
Come on, brother. What, are you gonna run out? You can't run out. Look, guys, I know that since none of us have $1 billion, you cannot comprehend how much money that is. But because of the interest that you would make from $1 billion, it's nearly impossible to run out of it because you make so much money every day in interest that you just can't spend that kind of money. That's for 1 billion. 276 billion, countries can't run out of that kind of money. He is worth more than many of the countries on the planet. And then the minute you ask him to share a nickel, they're like, how dare you? You're doing class warfare. Well, you know what, that's it, I'm buying all the politicians to destroy you.
Totally.
And then they go on media and they're like, oh, I am here to help a nurse in Queens. And then they don't get any questions about it. And then it makes it seem like, oh, he's the good guy. He's against wealth inequality. Come on, no bounds of decency or justice at all in media or in politics these days. Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.